Well, fascinating interview coming your way now. As I said before the break, we're crossing over to the Western Cape where Lukhanyo Calata is, and he's going to be talking to Christo Brand, Nelson Mandela's former warder on Robben Island. Lukhanyo.
Leanne, yes, thank you very much and welcome back. I am now joined by a very important person in the life of former President Nelson Mandela. His name is Christo Brand, and he was the prison warder that was specifically assigned to look after Madiba in both Robben Island and when he was then transferred to Portsmouth. Sir, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, sir. It's nice to be here.
You met former President Nelson Mandela in 1978. You were an 18-year-old then. What was your first impression of him?
The first impression, we were supposed to look at the biggest criminals in the history of South Africa. I didn't see a criminal element in him. I didn't see tattoos in him. I see elderly old man of the age of 60. He was a very down-to-earth person. He was helpful. He assisted us. He even motivated his prison guards to study further.
You then spent 1978 all the way through to 1990, up until he was released in prison, and then you continued to have a friendship with him thereafter. Tell us a little bit about how that time spent with him and the friendship, how that shaped your life.
During that time in prison, we became very close, especially on Portsmouth prison. On Robben Island, we was not much allowed to communicate, but there was a time where I smuggled a baby for him on Robben Island, which we could have not understand that old people become like hunger for children. But he was a person who always go the extra mile to assist even the warders, to protect even us in during our job when we do something wrong. But he was a person who always guide us. If I have a problem, I was in a motorcycle accident, he was writing all the letters for my lawyers and assist me, fight for the case for me, win the case for me. He was that type of person who will go the extra mile, even smuggled a letter out of prison to my wife, which he insists my wife must talk to me, that I must study further. He was that person which will always help others around him.
He's now no longer here. Today we're looking back at 25 years since his release. Is South Africa a much better place?
South Africa have changed a lot because we have multiracial schools. A lot of things have changed. Mandela laid the foundation for the build-up for the new South Africa, for the Rainbow Nation. Things have changed drastically a lot in South Africa, yes.
Okay. After he was released from prison, you guys continued to have a friendship. You saw him when he was president. Was there a difference between how he was when he was a prisoner and when he was president?
You know, when he became president, he have never changed. He was keeping the same attitude. I see to Mr. President, Mr. Mandela to him, he still called me Mr. Brand. He still put his arm around me and said I'm his biggest friend. He's looked after him when he was in prison. He have never changed. He was still the same person which I've known from prison till the day he was nearly passed.
You've written a book talking about this friendship of yours. Tell us some of the lesser known things that you mentioned in your book.
In my book, the lesson is we must help each other. We must protect each other. We must always lift others also up from the gutters and the dust, and we must try to build a country together. And my book is called Doing Life with Nelson Mandela, My Prisoner, My Friend.
All right. Mr. Brand, thank you very much for joining us. That was Mr. Christo Brand. He spent close on to 12 years looking after former President Nelson Mandela while he was incarcerated both on Robben Island as well later when he was transferred to Portsmouth. Leanne, I hand the reins back over to you in studio.